Welcome everyone to our presentation. Our agenda today is we will talk about the chosen scenario, neurohormonal analysis, brain development, genetic, and conclusion. Our chosen scenario today is scenario 10, Mr. Richards. So he lost his job in the travel industry last year due to the pandemic. Unemployed, feeling desperate most of the time. He is happy when he has the chance to go out with some mates for a few beers one evening when a stranger accidentally bumped into.
Life is busy, and remembering everything on a to-do list can be quite the achievement. As humans, we are fallible beings, capable of making mistakes literally all the time. This fallibility also extends to our brain. Yay. The thing that tells us what to do can just stop working? Well, kinda. Our actions and behaviours have a lot of work going on behind the scenes, from firing action potentials to regulating attention to production of the right levels of hormones.
Hello there. Today in this video, we will examine Annabelle's social behaviour. Social norms and its relative behaviour are integral aspects of human interaction and play a fundamental role in shaping our societal dynamics. Helping us display this, here is Annabelle, an excellent university student who has been revising and writing great notes for the entirety of the semester and is beyond equipped to ace her upcoming online final exam. However, there is an attractive man in Annabelle's class who messages her the day before the exam.
In this video, we will be investigating Mr. Richards' aggressive behaviour. Mr. Richards lost his job in the travel industry last year due to the pandemic. Unemployed and feeling desperate most of the time, he is happy when he has a chance to go out with some mates for a few beers one evening. When a stranger accidentally bumps into Mr. Richards at the pub, he shoves the man hard and the man falls to the ground as Mr. Richards starts shouting. Mr. Richards is clearly experiencing a great deal of stress due to his unemployment, which is acting as a predecessor to his aggressive behaviour.
Immorality of pretending to be someone that she's not, and was feeling guilty about deceiving the man, and also possibly that Tessa felt uncomfortable and overwhelmed by the man's increased interest and questioning, and didn't know how to handle the situation. Alternatively, Tessa may have dark triad traits, and she does this to men for fun. Regardless of her reasons, it's important to acknowledge that Tessa's actions were not honest and respectful to the persons involved, and that maybe this actually has something to do with attachment style. Attachment theory was first proposed by British psychologist Don Bowlby in the 1950s. He developed theory to...
In this video, we will be analyzing Bernie's behavior. Bernie is a 20-year-old male who enjoys watching television and movies that contain a lot of action and violence. One day he gets into a fight with his brother. It starts to become physical and he ends up punching him. The actor in this scenario is Bernie, and their behavior is him punching his brother. There are multiple factors that may have influenced his aggressive behavior, such as immediate brain response, hormonal influences, brain development, and genetics.
Imagine scrolling through your social media feed and coming across one particular influencer that just simply clicked with you. You immediately like several of the pictures of the influencer, then hit follow. What prompted you to engage in these actions? What is happening to you on a neurohormonal, developmental, or even cultural level? Today, we are covering the case of Tia. One afternoon, Tia came across an attractive female influencer on her Instagram feed. This influencer has beauty and health tips plastered all over her gallery.
On the 25th of April 2018, Jason humiliated Lewis by making fun of his job in front of their friends.
2 weeks later, Lewis invited all of his friends to his 25th birthday party via email, except for Jason.
One could view Lewis not inviting Jason to his...
From brain to behavior, how social neuroscience can explain our reactions to difficult customers. Jamal works in retail. A customer comes into the store and spends a long time trying on all sorts of clothes and asking Jamal for help with finding other sizes and colors. After 1 hour, the customer leaves a mess in the changing rooms and says, "What a lousy selection you have," and starts to go. Even though Jamal is irritated by the customer, he smiles, a fake smile, and tells the gentleman, "I'm sorry about that. I hope you come again." The tightening of a fist, the slight twinge of the left eye, a familiar sensation of a headache brewing at the temple, the expertly crafted snarky remarks, all
Do you remember this scene? You may think they are Harry Potter and Hermione Granger, but actually they are Elise and Brittany. So let's watch it again. Alice and Brittany are good friends. They have known each other for a year. One day, Alice gets some sad news about her mother's health. Brittany hugged Alice. Alice hugged Brittany
The
back.
probable causes of a social behavior of Mai. Mai was recently traveling, and as she walked through the airport, she saw an older man fall over his back onto the carpet. Although she was the closest person to the man, she didn't stop to help and hope that someone else would do it. From this scenario, Mai's behavior of not stopping to help the older man can be seen as an example of non-helping behavior or a failure to engage in prosocial behavior. Prosocial behavior refers to voluntary acts intended to benefit others, including helping, sharing, or providing comfort.
James is voting in his first federal election. Ill-informed, he decides to vote for the guy on the ballot who looks most trustworthy. That guy wins the election. In our presentation today, we will be investigating the mechanisms of James's behavior. We're trying to understand, through multifaceted analysis, why an ill-informed James would choose to vote for the candidate that looks the most trustworthy in the upcoming election. Throughout this presentation, we're going to look at the factors leading up to James's behavior, the seconds to minutes before he voted, the hours to days before, his brain development as a child, and the evolutionary perspective which ultimately led James to make his decision on trustworthiness.
In this video, we will be analyzing the following scenario. Lewis will have a party on Friday to celebrate his 25th birthday. He sends email invites to all his friends except Jason. Lewis is still angry with the way Jason made fun of his job when they were all together last time. To begin with, the scenario of Jason making fun of Lewis's job could be exemplified as, "Your job is so simple that even a child could do it." Considering how social esteem is linked with social status, for example, occupational status, and how threats to this can lead to negative feelings such as embarrassment, shame, or anger, which can be perceived as unfair and underserved, leading to the desire to remove...
Hi, our group chose to analyse Scenario 9 about Alex. Alex belongs to a political group on campus. He identifies strongly with this group and attends all their meetings. One day, he comes across a booth that a rival political group has set up. He confronts one of the group members and soon says insulting things about that person and their group. The actor is Alex. The behaviour is insulting the group member and the rival group.
In addition to neural activity, hormonal activity also plays crucial roles in Ellie's behavior. Hugging as a form of social touch can trigger the release of oxytocin, a hormone closely linked to social bonding, trust, and emotional intimacy. Oxytocin has been found to regulate various behaviors that facilitate the formation and maintenance of attachment bond in animals, including humans. Research conducted by Green and...
Today we'll be analyzing a social behavior from Mai's perspective, particularly in an airport setting.
You okay? Help me, young child.
So the scenario that we just watched...
Hello everyone, this is Dylan and Giselle. Today we're presenting the case of Bernie. Bernie is a 20-year-old young male who likes to watch television and movies that feature a lot of action and violence. One afternoon, he gets into a fight with his brother. It gets physical, and he ends up punching his brother in the face. The actor here is Bernie, and the behavior we will be focusing on is punching his brother. So we assumed Bernie was a generally healthy young male, and his aggressive behavior was not a pathological manifestation of anger.
See, sometimes we do things that on the surface don't make much sense.
Take this situation. Grace has a huge crush on Joelle, and it's terrifying. She can't even look at this woman. But as luck would have it, Joelle wants to get to know Grace.
Hi, I've seen you around, and I was wondering if you wanted to get coffee sometime.
Naturally, Grace replies.
Oh, sorry, I can't. I have a thing.
Classic avoidant behaviour.
Oh, okay then. Bye.
And she never asks again. At this point, Grace is probably kicking herself, saying something like,
Why did I do that? I liked her. I'm such a coward.
Cheating on the exam with the guy. For context, Annabelle is an excellent student who is fully prepared with her notes for the online exam. Our team attributed the behavior to be risk-taking due to Annabelle's attraction towards the good-looking guy. We will be covering the neural processes, hormones involved, Annabelle's brain development during adolescence, and evolutionary behaviors that may have influenced her decision.
What would have happened seconds to minutes before triggering the nervous system to perform this behavior? Although there are several neural processes that would contribute to this complex behavior, we will be addressing the two that would have actioned the behavior. One, cognitive control network.
Today is topic 16. James is voting in his first federal election. He hasn't had much time yet to look over the candidates or their party statements. Instead, James decides to vote for the guy on the ballot who looks the most trustworthy. That guy wins the election. The social behavior in this scenario is choosing the most trustworthy candidate, where we believe facial perception and evaluation of trustworthiness is central to this decision. Recognizing who we can trust is critical for social connection, and as we will see in this video, is subject to neural, hormonal, genetic, and evolutionary influences. In this video, we will see
Jessica and John are married to other people, and each is the parent of young children. They often see each other at school events and pickups and drop-offs. They have been playfully flirting for months, and it's clear that they find each other attractive. One Friday night, while Jessica's husband is out with friends, she invites John to her home after the kids have gone to bed. When John shows up, they sit outside looking at the stars until John and Jess have an illicit kiss that leads to them starting a passionate affair. Our actor is John, and the behavior is the illicit kiss.
In our case study, we're introduced to John, a married man that has been
mutually attracted to each other and have been playfully flirting over the past few months. What's so problematic about this? Well, they are both married to other people with young children. One night, Jessica invites John over when her children are asleep, knowing her husband Gary is out with friends. John and Jessica go outside to look at the stars until they share an illicit kiss, leading to a passionate sexual affair. Frankly, it is impossible to identify a single reason as to why a social behavior occurs. To explain any behavior in life, you really need to look at the contributors holistically in relation to each other. Today, we will analyze their underlying causes that led to the kiss in relation to the successive influence of evolution, genetics, hormones, and neural pathways. This breakdown focuses on Jessica as she is the
of catfishing an older man by pretending to be someone much sexier and much older than she is. Tessa has decided to ghost him, feeling as if her charade was close to being found out after one too many questions.
This is ghosting, an avoidant behavior in which you abruptly cut off all communication with another individual, usually used to protect yourself from the mentally and physically taxing nature of a breakup, and especially employed on online dating platforms as an easy way of cutting ties.
We're sure this phenomenon has existed for millennia, probably being much easier when you kept in touch via carrier pigeon.
On A Current Affair, we unravel the breathtaking incident that occurred last year when Mr. Simon Richards, a 22-year-old man, entered Birdie's nightclub on a Wednesday night and left a 30-year-old Kenny McCormick in critical care.
Oh, fuck, sorry, mate. Nah, don't.
Mr. Richards lost his beloved job as a puppeteer due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which his lawyer testified to have left him in great distress. We also know that Richards had a troubled upbringing with a depressed mother and exposure to interparental domestic violence with alcoholism. The aggressive act was ruled to be a result of the stranger accidentally bumping into Richards when waiting in line to order a drink.
To the Robert Sapolsky Fan Club, where we analyse something you're probably already overthinking.
Today we're going to be discussing Tia, who has recently been scrolling through a lot of Instagram. Tia sees a young female influencer who is slaying on her timeline, posting beauty tips, health guides, and an all-around gorgeous. Tia immediately follows this influencer and likes a lot of her posts.
I mean, look, don't we all do this? I find myself getting caught up liking and following influencers, but never consciously think, why am I doing this?
Exactly. So today we'll be using Robert Sapolsky's method of exploring behaviour. We'll be discussing Tia's behaviour through a neural analysis, brain development throughout adolescence, the impact of genetics and the influence of culture, and then finally we'll wrap it all up so you can get back to your scrolling.
In this technology-driven era, content has become more easily accessed by all ranges of people. The same goes for Tia, a teenager from a collectivist culture who was diagnosed with a generalized anxiety disorder. One day was scrolling through her feed as usual, an attractive female influencer page which mainly shares beauty and health tips pops up. Tia instantly clicks the like button and follows her account. Thus, the actor is Tia, and the behavior is liking and following the social media influencer.
A young man is walking out of a bar and sees someone in need. A homeless man, resting on the floor against a building with his dog. He holds a sign that reads, "Please help me buy a meal for me and my dog." Seeing this scene, Benny takes out his wallet and gives the man $20. Today, Pani and I are going to discuss and explore the many antecedents that led up to Benny's incredibly charitable and generous behavior. Spanning from the microscopic neurons releasing chemicals and electrical signals in Benny's brain to the actions of a prehistoric ancestor that slowly evolved into an altruistic action on a drunken night out.
Hello fellow neuroscientists. Today we bring forth an interesting topic to our discussion, something that happens all too often in school or in our lives for that matter. We'll be breaking this scenario down into a neural-based analysis, a Hohmann analysis, also tying in with brain development and the evolution of love, which might explain what is going on in this situation. Annabelle, an excellent student, has been taking good notes all semester and is ready for an online exam. A good-looking guy she knows from this class sends her a message the day before the exam. Would you like to sit with me and take the exam? I could use your brains. Annabelle writes back, sure, knowing that this will constitute academic dishonesty to help him with the exam. Now, why would an A+ student like Annabelle jeopardize all her hard work and risk academic...
A terrible event occurred. Mr. Richard, a 25-year-old man, was bumped into by a stranger. Mr. Richard proceeded to shove this man to the ground and started yelling at the men.
Yo, you got a fucking problem?
Do I have a problem?
Yeah, you got a fucking problem.
Yeah, bitch, I got a fucking problem.
In this presentation, our research team will seek to understand the motives and mechanisms behind Mr. Richard's behavior through a neuropsychological lens. What he did was considered aggressive and socially inappropriate. This form of aggression can be labeled as reactive aggression, which refers to a response to a social threat or provocation strongly associated with anger.
Richard did not have the best time growing up. He was known to be a troublesome child.
Why are some people motivated to racially discriminate? This is the question we hope to answer in this video. First, we'll look at the context and the behaviour. Joe is an Australian with European ancestry and works as property manager. One day, a Chinese couple who had just moved to Australia came to his office looking for a house to rent. Even though Joe has several homes that he could show the couple, he tells them there's nothing available at the moment. When another couple with European ancestry comes to the door an hour later,
His mother on Saturday afternoon to have a chat.
His relationship with her is important, and he hates missing her weekly chats. One Saturday, he looks at his bank statement and realizes that he has made several math errors and is short of a lot of money. Completely stressed out about his finances, he forgets to call his mother. Roger's behavior is that he forgets to call his mother due to stress. We interpret this behavior from a psychological viewpoint as how stress affects cognitive, affective, and physical aspects in Roger.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah, and Liv, Kira, Riley, and I will be presenting a multi-level analysis of discrimination for you today. To start, we'd like you to imagine a scenario. You're a fly on the wall in a real estate office in Australia on an early Monday morning. In this office, you see Joe, a young white Australian typing away at his keyboard frantically. The office door jingles, alerting Joe to the door. He looks towards the door to see a Chinese couple standing just inside the doorway. They ask him if there are any rental properties available. He responds with a no and continues tapping away at his keyboard. Disappointed, the couple proceed to walk out the door.
James, a normal young man by all accounts, is voting in his first federal election. Unfortunately, he hasn't looked over much of the candidate information or their party statements. Instead, James decided to vote for the guy on the ballot card who he feels looks most trustworthy. And as luck would have it, it turned out the guy James voted for won the election. Why was it that James based his voting decision on the candidate's trustworthiness, which he gleaned from their photo? In this seemingly simple action with wide consequences, we will look at the possible how and why the behavior, that is, perceiving trustworthiness through examining facial profile on a ballot card, happened.
Hi listeners, today I want to discuss a situation that many of us find familiar, a story of temptation and a desire. Jessica and John each bound by marriage to other people and being a parent. Despite their commitment, they had been flirting. On a Friday night, an illicit kiss ignited a passionate affair between these two. The behavior we are here to explore is the illicit kiss.
And today we're going to present a neural analysis of what contributes to humans' behaviors. Our topic is Mr. Richard. Mr. Richards lost his job in the travel industry last year due to a pandemic. Unemployed and feeling desperate most of the time, he is happy when he has a chance to go out with some mates for a few beers one evening. When a stranger accidentally bumps into Mr. Richards at the pub, he shoves the man hard and the man falls to the ground as Mr. Richards starts shouting. Now, let's look into his behavior from a psychological viewpoint.
Welcome back to a current psychological affair where we investigate the neuropsychological causes of everyday behaviours. Tonight, a 28-year-old male named Roger calls his mum every Saturday without fail. At the end of each call, he lets his mum know what time to expect his call the following week. Last week, while he was arranging some payments for bills, he realised he'd made several maths errors and was short a lot of money. Because of how stressed he'd become about his financial situation, he entirely forgot to call his mum at the time they'd discussed. It's important to understand that Roger, as a child, he experienced a significant amount of stress. After compiling more in-depth information regarding Roger and his past, researchers from across the nation have developed differing opinions on just how this could have happened to Roger. Stress, which triggers the fight or flight response, is strongly associated with reduced social motivation and reduced executive control.
In this video, we will be unpacking James's actions in the latest election. James recently turned 18 and is voting in his first federal election. However, being a busy teenager, he forgot to vote until the last minute and has to rush over to the polls despite having done no research on the candidates or their party statements. Due to his lack of information, he rashly decides to vote for the candidate who he thinks looks the most trustworthy. This candidate wins the election, and James voted for him, regardless of whether his statement was positive or negative. Thus, we wonder why James did this.
Reactive aggression, a behavioral analysis. Aggression is integral to every human being. At its core, aggression is any behavior that is motivated by the intention to harm another person. Antisocial behaviors can be social, psychological, and, most notably, physical. Intentional physical harm, which can involve significant injury or death, is a specific subset of aggression known as violence. Every form of aggression, social, emotional, and physical, is bifurcated into either proactive or...
The consumption of alcohol is widely known to influence a person's behavior and in many cases lower their inhibitions, making it more likely for them to do something that they normally would not do or is deemed out of character for them. In the case of this scenario, Mr. Rich's behavior is seen as aggressive as he shoves the unknown man to the ground over an accidental bump between the two individuals. There will be a number of factors to take into account when discussing this scenario, such as the effects that alcohol has had on Mr. Richard's inhibition, the compounded frustration, anger, and resentment he may be feeling for losing his job due to the pandemic, and not to mention the impact that the feeling of desperation can have on one's actions. Furthermore, the societal stigmatization placed on men and their tendency to show extreme signs of masculinity, especially while under the influence of alcohol. All of these factors will be delved into further in this video, looking at the neural processes that occur within minutes